They wanted me gone, an embarrassment to their perfect wedding day. What they didn't realize was that their contempt wasn't just insulting me, it was starving their 300 guests. The chandeliers in the grand ballroom of the Lake Forest mansion glittered like fallen stars, casting a warm, deceptive glow over the hushed excitement. Outside, a cool evening breeze rustled through ancient oaks, carrying the scent of expensive flowers and the faint, unsettling tremor of a family about to unravel. This was Alex's wedding, a day meant for joy, but for me it felt like walking into a meticulously laid trap. My name is Sarah, and I've always believed in building something for myself. That belief became the bedrock of my catering business. What started as a modest food truck during my college years gradually blossomed into a full-service catering empire, now employing over 50 people and servicing high-end events across the greater Chicago area. It took nearly a decade of sleepless nights, countless sacrifices, and a relentless, burning determination. I built something real, something I'm fiercely proud of. This background is crucial to understanding the absolute disaster that unfolded last weekend at my younger brother, Alex's, wedding. My family and I haven't been on speaking terms for nearly 6 years. My mother, Elena, passed away when I was 14. A year later, my father, Robert, remarried Deborah. From day one, Deborah made it clear she wanted no trace of Elena in our lives. My father, eager to move on, allowed her to systematically erase my mother's memory. That created a chasm between us. Alex, who was only 10 at the time, gravitated towards Deborah, but I struggled against her sudden, controlling presence. The real breaking point arrived during my college years. I juggled multiple part-time jobs, fighting to pay for my education. My father refused to help, claiming I needed to learn responsibility. Meanwhile, he fully funded Alex's tuition at an expensive private university. The disparity was a constant, stinging wound. Deborah, ever the condescending critic, never missed an opportunity to belittle my efforts. She'd sneer, calling my burgeoning catering venture, playing with a food truck, while praising Alex's real career in finance. After college, I rarely contacted them. I'd show up for holidays, endure the barbs and leave. The final straw came 6 years ago. Robert and Deborah sold my childhood home without telling me. I only found out after they'd moved, and by then, all of Elena's remaining belongings, things I'd cherished and wanted to keep, were gone. When I confronted Robert, he dismissed me, calling me overly emotional. That was the day I went no contact. I severed the ties, hoping to find peace. Then, last month, an unexpected formal invitation arrived, Alex's wedding. Tucked inside was a handwritten note from him. He missed me. He wanted to repair our relationship. After days of wrestling with my conflicted emotions, I decided to give it a chance. Despite the bitter history, Alex was still my brother. I even offered to provide the catering at a significant discount, a genuine gesture of goodwill. He politely declined, saying they'd already booked another company. I was a little hurt, but I brushed it off. I arrived at the beautiful Lake Forest venue cautiously optimistic. Alex seemed genuinely happy to see me, which was a relief. But Deborah, her attitude was a cold slap to the face. The moment she saw me, the snide comments about my appearance and my little food truck business began. I swallowed my pride, focusing on the beautiful ceremony. The seating arrangement, however, was a subtle, cruel message. I was placed at a table far from my immediate family, tucked away with distant cousins I barely knew. An outsider, still. The reception was where everything truly detonated. Robert, clearly several drinks in, stumbled over to my table. His voice, thick with alcohol and contempt, started to rip into me. He accused me of showing up uninvited, loudly proclaiming I was an embarrassment to the family, ruining Alex's day. Before I could even process his words, Deborah chimed in, her voice dripping with thinly veiled sarcasm. "How much are you earning playing restaurant owner these days?" She cooed, casting a dismissive glance at my suit, implying I couldn't possibly afford it. The audacity. The sheer, breathtaking disrespect. A wave of ice-cold clarity washed over me. There was no point in engaging. Not with a drunk Robert, not with a gleeful Deborah. I stood up, my heart a frozen knot in my chest, and walked away. Quietly. I was making my escape, heading towards my car, when something in the flurry of activity at the back of the venue snagged my attention. Catering staff, setting up for the main course. I recognized their faces. These were my people. Then it hit me. The catering company Alex had supposedly booked? My company had recently acquired it. The former owner was now my operations manager, David. I hadn't been directly involved in the specific events planning, but legally, this wedding, this entire operation, was under my control. A jolt of electric fury shot through me. I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling slightly as I dialed David. My voice was calm, steady, betraying none of the earthquake raging inside me.
He confirmed it. This was our event. My event.
I thought of Robert's slurred accusations, Deborah's mocking smile.
Embarrassment.
Ruining the wedding. If my presence was so offensive, if I was so undesirable, then surely, they wouldn't want my company catering their precious event. My decision was instantaneous, cold, and absolute. David, I said, pack everything up.
Right now.
Every dish, every fork, every single piece of food and equipment. We're leaving. Within 15 minutes, 25 of my employees, moving with silent, practiced efficiency, had loaded all the food, equipment, and supplies into our trucks.
They were gone. Chaos erupted.
300 guests, left without a main course or dessert. People started to realize something was seriously wrong. Robert, now less drunk and more panicked, tried to intervene. But there was nothing he could do. The contract they'd signed, between my acquired company and Alex's wedding planner, contained a clause allowing us to terminate service for hostile or discriminatory behavior towards our staff or ownership. And that, unequivocally, is exactly what had happened. I left my business card with the venue manager, Daniel, and told him to have Robert contact my lawyer, Evelyn, if there were any disputes over payment. The fallout was immediate. By the next morning, my phone was a buzzing inferno of messages from family members, accusing me of being selfish and petty. Alex sent a long text, saying I had ruined his wedding, and proved Deborah right about me all along. Robert, predictably, threatened to sue for breach of contract. I forwarded everything to Evelyn and blocked their numbers. A few hours later, I started hearing from some guests who had actually witnessed the scene. Surprisingly, many were on my side. They'd seen how Robert and Deborah had treated me, appalled by their behavior. One of Alex's friends, who knew my company's work, even reached out, apologizing for how things played out and expressing how impressed he was with my team's swift, professional exit. This unexpected support was a balm to my raw nerves. Not everyone in the family was blind. As the days passed, word of Alex's wedding, or rather its dramatic foodless ending, spread through social circles. Deborah's carefully curated image began to crack. She tried to downplay it, blaming me entirely, but the truth was already out.
The damage was done.
Honestly, I don't feel guilty.
I was invited.
I was publicly humiliated. I exercised a legal right. It was nothing personal, it was just business. They didn't want me there, so they didn't get my service.
Simple as that.
Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling of being pulled back into a family drama I thought I'd escaped. Did I handle it the right way?
Or was it too much?
Update: the legal showdown and a cracking facade. The legal threats from Robert and Deborah, as expected, escalated. Evelyn, my lawyer, was already ahead of them. She confirmed the contract was rock solid. The termination clause, specifically designed for situations like this, covered us completely. Crucially, the venue manager, Daniel, confirmed their security cameras had captured everything. While the audio wasn't crystal clear, it captured enough of Robert's berating and Deborah's sarcastic remarks to undeniably prove their hostile behavior. With this evidence, my legal standing was unassailable. Evelyn sent a formal letter to Robert and Deborah's attorney, Martin, laying out the facts, citing the contract, and mentioning the video evidence. I thought that would be the end of it.
I underestimated Deborah.
Martin responded, demanding a full refund and threatening to sue for damages, claiming I'd ruined the wedding and caused irreparable harm. They wanted compensation not just for the catering, but for the disruption to the entire event. My blood ran cold. I wasn't about to give them a penny. Evelyn and I crafted a counterproposal. We'd offer a 50% refund on the deposit, but only if they signed a non-disclosure agreement, preventing them from speaking publicly or leaving negative reviews, and a release of claims, stopping any further legal action. We sent the offer, and waited. Meanwhile, Deborah continued her campaign of malice. Daniel called me, warning that Deborah was trying to post negative reviews online, claiming we'd sabotaged the wedding. My legal team quickly sent a cease and desist letter. Her actions were bordering on defamation, and we were prepared to escalate. Amidst this legal firestorm, something unexpected happened. Several wedding guests reached out, not with condemnation, but with compliments. They'd been impressed by how swiftly and professionally my team packed up. It was strange, a disaster leading to new business opportunities, but I found a sliver of vindication there. Alex, through a mutual cousin, sent a message. He admitted feeling guilty for not standing up for me, for letting his fear of Robert and Deborah silence him. He apologized and asked to meet.
I was torn.
A part of me longed for that connection, but another part felt it was too late. I decided to hold off until the legal situation was resolved. Update: unveiling the manipulation and rebuilding bonds before Alex and Deborah's legal team finally agreed to our settlement. Accepting the partial refund and signing the NDA, I learned even more about Deborah's true colors. One of my business associates, who had worked with Alex's wedding planner, revealed that Deborah had been an absolute nightmare for weeks leading up to the wedding. She insisted on countless last-minute changes to flowers, the cake, and even the seating chart, forcing the planner to rearrange 300 guests multiple times. She'd made condescending remarks to the venue staff and tried to dictate the band's setlist. The chaos at the reception? That was just the public crescendo of weeks of relentless, impossible demands. Hearing this, a deep, unsettling validation settled within me. My rage was not just for myself, but for every vendor she'd tormented. The legal battle officially ended. The signed documents arrived, the partial refund processed.
No apology from them, no acknowledgement.
Just silence. Which, honestly, was a relief.
But Deborah wasn't done.
She started calling my employees, trying to fish for information. My staff, loyal and professional, directed her straight to Evelyn. Then she started targeting my business partners on LinkedIn, spreading false claims. Another cease and desist letter went out, a clear warning that I would protect my livelihood. But the most surprising development came from Alex. The fallout from the wedding had rocked his own marriage. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned that he and his new wife Emily had had their first major fight. Emily was horrified by how Robert and Deborah had treated me. She confronted Alex, telling him he should have stood up for me, that allowing his family to humiliate me was unacceptable. This led to a huge argument, postponing their honeymoon. Emily, I realized, was Alex's strength, forcing him to face reality. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Validation, knowing someone else saw the truth. But also, a pang of sorrow for Alex. He was in a tough spot, under years of pressure. It wasn't an excuse for his silence, but it explained it. Update: true reconciliation and new beginnings. Yesterday, Alex and I met for coffee.
It was raw, emotional.
He broke down, apologizing for years of enabling Deborah's behavior and Robert's favoritism. He was visibly shaken, the weight of his guilt palpable. I always knew Alex loved me, but hearing him admit his complicity, his blindness to Deborah's manipulation, was a monumental step. He revealed that Deborah had controlled their family dynamics through financial manipulation, even convincing Robert to put most of their assets, including partial ownership of Alex's condo, in her name.
Alex was blindsided.
He'd been living under a facade, believing he had control, when Deborah orchestrated everything. He's now working with a financial advisor, fighting for his independence. I felt a surge of pride for him. He was finally ready to make real changes. Emily, Alex's wife, called me privately later that day. They're going to couples counseling. Alex is finding his voice, standing up to Deborah in a way he never could before. They're actively looking for a new condo, one solely in their names. And they're planning a small vow renewal ceremony in a few months, with different in-laws seated at the family table.
It warmed my heart.
They're committed to building a new narrative, free from the toxicity. As for Deborah and Robert, they've gone surprisingly quiet since signing the NDA. Through mutual acquaintances, I've heard they're facing social consequences in their country club circle. Their carefully constructed narrative, where I was the villain, is collapsing. The social standing they valued so much is now in jeopardy, a direct result of their own behavior. This entire experience has taught me the profound importance of setting boundaries with toxic family members. Sometimes, the hardest decisions, like standing firm for your principles, are the right ones, even when they cause short-term chaos. I've realized that standing in my truth, despite the backlash, has led to unexpected growth and healing in other relationships. My business is thriving. The wedding incident, in a bizarre twist, strengthened my reputation. We're experiencing a surge in bookings. It's rewarding to see my hard work recognized. I met with my employees, acknowledging their professionalism. Their feedback, their appreciation for our company culture, made me incredibly proud. On my nightstand, a framed photo of my mother, Elena, reminds me of what truly matters. Life is too short for toxic relationships, but it's never too late for genuine reconciliation with those who are truly sorry. I plan to maintain my boundaries with Robert and Deborah. But I'm cautiously optimistic about rebuilding with Alex and other family members willing to interact respectfully. The silence on the line, for the first time in years, was truly mine. It was the sound of a boundary finally set, a truth finally acknowledged. But I have to ask myself, and now I'm asking you, was this an act of justified retribution, or did I allow their toxicity to drag me down to their level? What would you have done when faced with such profound disrespect? Share your thoughts below.